Hey guys, welcome back to the Iowa Class Battleships page. Today's video is going to be on could a battleship have stopped the two planes from slamming into the World Trade Centers on 9/11? Now this question came in due to the fact that I had posted a picture of the USS Wisconsin in New York Harbor along with a Ticonderoga class cruiser. Well, the Tycos were obviously set up for air defense. So were the Iowas of that day. Well, we're going to go back and take a look at some of the armament in the early commissionings through Korea up into Vietnam in the 80s, and where would they have been AA-wise at that time. So we'll see how far the video goes. If we go beyond one, I'll do a second one, but for right now I'm going to focus on what the Iowa class battleship's armament was the end of Desert Storm, and what would it have still been up into the early 2000s if they had been retained in commission. So sit back and enjoy, and let's get to it. As designed and commissioned, the Iowas all carried 25-inch 38 caliber Mark 12 guns and 10 Mark 28 Mod 2 enclosed base ring mounts. This was a very successful weapon system. It was for anti-aircraft defense and anti-ship. They also used it for shore bombardment. Now, when the Iowas were brought back into service in the 80s, some of these mounts were clipped out and only 12 guns were left from the original 20. But a very robust, very solid anti-aircraft round and AP round for shore bombardment. This was their maximum range defense for anti-aircraft for kamikazes and incoming planes. So the longest reach they had at the time of their commissioning for anti-air. Backing up the 5-inch battery would be the 40mm Bofors guns. Now these guns came in quad mounts and there were 20 of them. Around 120 rounds a minute, the Bofors guns fired a 2-pound charge. So this gun backed up the 5-inch, so anything that got through the wall of anti-aircraft rounds from the 5-inch guns, the 40mm would begin to chew into whatever, and you can see from the clips around there, the clip holdings on the tubs of the guns, they had a lot of rounds. These guns were very, very manpower intensive along with the 20s. So it took a lot of people servicing these guns to keep them in action, but they were the next best defense beyond the 5-inch mounts. Thought was given to replacing the 40 mounts with a 3-inch Mark 22 50 caliber gun. Shells around 13 pounds, but by this point, air defense had evolved beyond what those guns could shoot down, so this wasn't done. When the Korean War broke out, USS Missouri was the only American battleship in the world on active duty. She was rushed to the combat zone, but she had no 20mm mounts, and she did have many of her 40s left, but as we talked about earlier, they were very manpower intensive, and at this point they weren't that effective for anti-aircraft defense. She would have to rely on the fleet, mainly the aircraft carriers, for air defense. In 1967, USS New Jersey returned to life for 1 year on the gun line in Vietnam. The focus was on her 5-inch guns and 16-inch guns. The 40mm and 20mm were removed, but you can see in this picture that they retained some of the tubs, and the crew used them for swimming pools. Captain Snyder had the front two painted blue, and they would fill them with water and use them as pools while they're off the coast of Vietnam. But her anti-aircraft defense was very limited, and it was be provided by her escorts or any carriers in the region. And then she was placed back to sleep. When recommissioned in the 1980s, the Iowas retained 12 of the original 5-inch mounts, and they also received 4 Phalanx Sea-Whiz weapon system. The Sea-Whiz is a close-in weapon system. The Phalanx itself is a 20mm 6-barreled Gatling gun that fires around 3,000 to 4,500 rounds a minute with a 20mm shell, which only weighs about 3.5 ounces. It's got an effective range around 1,675 yards, but a max range of around 6,000. But at 6,000 yards, what they would call in the infantry the beaten zone is where the rounds are just spraying out all over the place. So it's not very effective for long range. It is a close-in missile suppression system, or close-in, helicopter, anti-aircraft, anything in that envelope. It could engage it, yes. Small ships also. But this is the only proactive air defense that they had. Anything beyond that would have been provided by an escorting ship's air defense systems like the Aegis cruiser or an accompanying carrier. But for all intents and purposes, this was all they had for air defense beyond their chaff. The Navy almost did add the Sea Sparrow system to the ships, which would have provided more of an anti-aircraft ability. But the back pressure from the big guns going off was believed to cause a problem with the system and would have knocked it out. And speaking with Captain Sequist, he informed me that they actually fired the guns in milliseconds off to keep it from being overpressuring towards the Seawiz system. So there was no anti-aircraft defense beyond the Seawiz and the chaff. Like in Korea and Vietnam, any anti-aircraft defense would have been provided by the ship's escorts or a carrier wing. So based upon the Desert Storm configuration that the Iowas had, there was no anti-aircraft ability beyond the Seawiz. Even if the crew had been at battle stations, maybe 2 of the 20mm mounts could have gotten into action, but the chances of it actually stopping one of those large planes is next to none. Okay, guys, so there you have it. That is my opinion on the anti-aircraft abilities of the Iowa-class battleships in their Desert Storm configuration, which was at the end of their life cycle prior to their last decommissioning. So maybe the next video I'm going to get into what they might have been in the 2001 era had they still been in service. Had Iowa had her turret 2 repaired, or even if just 2 of the battleships stayed on duty, like Missouri and Wisconsin. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at some upgrades that were planned or had been talked about. But that's going to be it for another video. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, share, and comment. This is just something new we're getting going. So hopefully the videos will get better. Hopefully the content will grow. If you've got any comments, be sure to email them to me at salvosforfreedom@gmail.com, or just comment below, or, message me. Check out our Instagram page, the Facebook page. Instagram is blowing up. Get on there, check it out, and like it. And I can't wait to see you guys for our next installment. Thanks a lot for watching.